it sounds like a joke, but it's actually not. Like I could like we have to like as an American isolation of its own quote unquote interdependent sovereignty end quote within its like geo territories. Within its geo territories, the balanced government behind whatever the dualistic, excuse me for that, because I do a lot of running and sometimes I'll just burp and hiccup, but in all seriousness, within like just generally the troops have to be like, I guess, like, you know more like eventually if there's any type of war that's going to happen, it's because the result that would happen would be based on like where where the quality of the the members who find themselves like in the path of like serving the country and however they're doing, and we're all doing it in unique ways. But the point here is like it's like if you want to protect the main point that I'm trying to like drive home is like if you want to protect your country, like the troops have to like be like they have to be in quality physical health and quality mental health. And if they're not lacking in that particular thing, then your nation will be susceptible to lose the fucking war, generally speaking. So if you're generally risking your country for whatever weird reason because you're lacking critical intelligence, and it's ironic here because I'm like standing for like just the casual balance of all the countries. I'm standing for all of the countries in balance. I'm not discriminating, and I'm recognizing all the sovereign country sovereignties within the countries themselves that have their own like casual standard like civil like quarrels with just their their different types of agencies that are within that governmental complex within that country. So it's like I'm just generally saying it like it it it's not a matter of me being concerned or worried about if who's going to hear this video. No, it's a matter of are we realizing the critical importance and the crucial importance of like real standard basic national like security guard just on a standard ass level, for Christ's sake. So within that standard level, the determining factors at the end of the day, so we'll be less susceptible to war, is just the nation has to be in like some type of physical and mental health so it could retain its own individual geographical sovereignty, like but like how there's exchanges that could be like patched up for harmony, or how there's exchanges of trade that are patched up for quote unquote negativity end quote, then that's going to be the deciding factor of like neutrally saying what countries are going to get along, at the end of the day. So, and I'm saying it like neutrally, mind you, like what countries are going to get along at the end of the day within like them like having dignity, basically, and them having like just standard like standard intelligence and honor within what they're trading with other countries, whatever the trade is, because I'm just talking about standard like global business based on like how like for business to be exchanged across nation, there has to be some type of like there has to be some type of like ethical like agreements and ethical respect and ethical like honor that's like just there standardly, due to the fact that if you want to maintain good connections, then you have to have like some type of relationship within whatever nation to nation is trading. Those nations have to have some type of like fair conduct relationship, generally saying, and within that fair conduct relationship, or whatever, however the written agreement came about, what's it ultimately going towards, and do we have the authenticity to really uphold and be true to the commitments that we're taking upon within just standard trade upon another trade within just one nation upon another nation, so within all these different nations, like eventually like there's going to be pockets and places from between country to country where like all the nations could get along, you know? That's what I'm saying. Like in between all of that shit, all the nations could get along. And that's kind of already, it's kind of already low key like that, but not really, because there's like, you know, there's quote unquote, like, you know, just as it is, holes in the system, end quote. And that's not good. That's not bad per se. That's just like, that's just where the standard, you know, outlet and expression of, you know, whatever's being like, you know, recognized as what someone could call like obsolete, you know, because it's like whether we like it or not, someone else is going to recognize some type of incompletion respectively. And obviously, like, I understand people's like, you know, like mode of stubbornness, you know, I understand that, you know, of like they don't like change and shit like that. They don't like, they don't like, you know, things to be different, but but they don't know how things are changing. And if you don't know how things are changing, then you can appreciate the deeper how, and how things are changing, you know, for the better, because it's moving towards some type of wholeness and completion. And if like whatever like that path is, that you don't like, that's going towards wholeness and completion, that's because you fell out of relationship with that spiritual origin. That spiritual origin is of originally wholeness and completion. And if that spiritual origin is originally of wholeness and completion, somewhere along the lines of those mechanics, you fell out of that. And now you're more or less like energetically catching up to get back to that. And that's like beyond like quote unquote spiritual law, end quote, because we're seeing what Vedanta has ultimately had to offer us from whenever, whence it came to this far right now, and how we're sharing the fucking, respectively, we're sharing the effing influence, end quote, of all of these trades and practices and systems of bodies of knowledge. We're all sharing that stuff. And within sharing all that stuff, we've got the chance to gleam upon new realizations, old realizations, standard realizations, and unknown future realizations. So all, and like, and your realization, so all these different realizations. But if we're not like polished in our like, you know, our critical thinking and our critical intelligence, then that's like a unique endarkenment for us. It's a certain context of endarkenment, and what the certain contexts of endarkenment is, it's just a lack of knowing. It's a lack of energetic fulfillment. It's a lack of just having a not absence of something that you could be absent of, that you don't know, because like in yesterday's underground podcast, I'm like, one of the questions I also asked is like what, like why suffering, you know, why is there suffering going on? And after asking that question, I just looked at, I mean, there's more details in the particular clip, but I just looked at it as like something, as a temporary kind of like mini train or something like that, you know. And within that temporary mini train, it too shall pass, you know, because there's like, there's this whole other story going on. Because if you compare your micro story to respectively the universe's story, those are like, the magnitude in comparison is like quote unquote infinitely different, end quote. So if it's infinitely different, and there's proof that things live and die, transformation, change, transformation, death, life, we're all going through that stuff, death, life, transformation, change. If that is a factor of just a different standard mechanics of quote unquote neutrality, end quote, within that standard mechanics of quote unquote neutrality, end quote, that's just one thing of many other things. That's just one like aspect of like how the universe is moving shit. And how the universe is moving shit, one thing that it neutrally has is life and death, transformation and change, all kinds, like life, death, change, transformation, in quote unquote, in an infinite array magnitude like fashion, end quote. And within that infinite array like magnitude fashion, what's going on here is we're caught up in our own microcosm like story, and that microcosm story has blemishes of unknowingness, lack of critical thinking, like like on a literal level. and upon that being that of its own thing, that human experiment is allowed. It's allowed for you to like do that. It's not necessarily bad, but like what we weigh with different like levels of like just casual debris, metaphysically speaking, metaphysical debris going out into the reality, like associating with reality as just a surface level whole, and not and the life path itself gives you endurance. The life path itself grows your resiliency without just being a facade with it. The resiliency will be tested throughout your whole effing life. And that's kind of like that's like a critical factor to kind of how you hold it all together, you know, because how you all hold it all together, that it's based on our level of holding it all together, we're not necessarily aware of like how we're like away from wholeness most respectively and uniquely, and how most respectively and uniquely we're away from wholeness, because the main symptom of being away from wholeness is surface level material, quote unquote, disease and suffering, end quote. Because if you're lacking something of wholeness, then on a metaphysical level you're susceptible to some type of intrusion of energetics within, just like how like there's an inner world macrocosm and there's an outer world macrocosm, and within that inner world macrocosm, the outer world is getting created and we're going into this like playland of reality, and upon that metaphysical 3D playland, a digital field is being created by proxy default, and we're using that digital field, the internet, in so many different ways, but it's still like standing upon something else because it's just a layer upon many different layers. And this is 7 years quality of just this quality juice, like underground, low key. And I shamelessly say that. I shamelessly say that because we are quick to judge a small piece of things. We are quick to judge not the whole story. We are quick to judge something that doesn't even really matter, and you're making something of something like something of a nothing to be something of even more of a false nothing. So it's a false nothing, not a true nothing. So as we engage in the physical reality, what 2024 to 2544, in the year 2544, the mechanics are still going to be the same. It's just a new layers being created on layers that already were. 500 years from now, it's going to be the same mechanics underground, low key underground. We're just building upon shit. Just like in that, like in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you saw that picture of the sediment layers of like the geography of Earth, the Earth's crust, all of those layers. We're just building a new layer. That's all that's really happening. But we could refer back to the old layers in the physical realm for a unique reason, and then AI could eventually find out and decode who created the plumbing systems of Tartaria. Because whoever created the plumbing systems in Tartaria, we could actually figure that out in a different metaphysical way. Because in a different metaphysical way, Tartaria is just a certain layer in a certain earth crust on its early metaphysical level, and it has its own respective like casual like more energy type of realm, and within that just by a casual association and affiliation, you could see like what the codes of the engineering the engineering plumbing underground basis of Tartaria. It's pointing to a certain overall signature to a being who ruled Tartaria. So whoever ruled Tartaria, it was like it was like there was a certain procession of not just time but time as well, but there was a certain procession of different layers of 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 material matter creation, and within that material matter creation there was like eventually like some type of plumbing system of Tartaria, and within that plumbing system, and obviously like what I'm saying right here, it's just something of like a something of a proposal, you know, because obviously like I understand how someone could be like, I want more evidence, I want more, like, you know, more evidence. Pretty much I understand like someone saying that. So that's why everything is just a process, you know, because like for me to say something that big, you know, like, oh, can we find out the plumbing system, like how the plumbing systems of Tartaria were created? Maybe so, in a different, you know, in a different, you know, insight, you know, a different insight level of like when it could have been explained in a different way. It's just like we're seeing the quote unquote Akash Rex, end quote, and within that Akash Rex, the Akash Rex is like it's just standardly there, you know. It doesn't have to be like necessarily identified. With the Akash Rex is just like it was just the earlier shit of shit, you know. That's what the Akash Rex was. So within the earlier shit of shit, um, there was some good shit that was like preserved, you know. Where And there was another point I want to squeeze out, and how like I want to like kind of like point towards like the uncovering of like, you know, how it was made, you know, how Tartaria was made, you know. Like I want like I'm just kind of like kind of I'm kind of I'm trying to squeeze out a different insight I brought upon when I mentioned this topic, when I mentioned this, you know, thing, when I mentioned this topic subject. There was a different insight I brought forth in a different past recording when I mentioned like how was the plumbing system of Tartaria created. There was another point, so that because obviously I want to complete my own like shit, you know. And there's Red Berry Ghost. Shout out to Navadi. Shout out to Navadi. And yeah, it's like we have to vote with our own intelligence. Where is the balanced use of all of this digital shit? Where's the balanced use of, you know, just basically that? That's it. That is in a nutshell itself, because that's like something of the quote unquote something of a surface level field, you know. It's just all of a new particular field, though, you know. And and so the so I'm not trying to leak this one, but like if I were to, it'd be in dignity and neutrality. And I say dignity and neutrality because it's an effort to standardly be mature, to honor mutual respect and mutual agreements in global business. So if I do put it online, I wouldn't care, because it's an effort to help the world. That's the thing we're not understanding. This is an effort to help the world that we live on. And within that world, casually, we have different we could just help each other, like you know, like I guess reciprocate with these deep ancestors that are giving us the ability itself to even progress in itself most respectively. And I'm gonna end it right there. And I don't think and maybe I won't post this one, you know. But whether I post it or not, it's like it actually should be posted because the world is kind of asking for it, like on just a general level, like beyond the purpose shit, beyond I want to help the world. Okay, deposit something where you're actually doing it without just using it as some type of tailor-made brand shit. But I still respect all that shit too. And I know someone could be thinking like, "Oh, is this really it?" Well, if you don't like me, if you don't like this world, maybe you should go to a different timeline. Because cuz if you hate on me, then that's like the logic is equivalent to like hating a tree in a forest. Like nature just grows how it grows. Thank you very much.